Everyone out there in YouTube land, Dan here from Geekcast Radio doing another must-read comic book video. This is where I talk about some of the best comics and explain to you why you must read them. Today I will be discussing one of the most epic of all Batman stories that's not called Batman or Dark Knight Returns or Batman Year One, Batman the Long Halloween. And I say that because I was hesitant to do a Batman book for these videos. I tend to enjoy focusing on more of the indie titles or smaller books that aren't necessarily always on the best graphic novels of all time. I mean, there's not much more I can say about Dark Knight Returns. It hasn't been said already, similar to Batman Year One. And I was wondering if Batman Long Halloween also fits into that same level. It is a book that I think is highly acclaimed, and usually if you're looking at the best graphic novels about Batman or best stories about Batman, this often fits within there. But I feel there's enough to talk about, and with the recent news of the Batman Hush movie that'll be coming, the animated film, I thought we may be talking about what I think is a better example of Jeph Loeb doing Batman than Batman Hush, Batman Long Halloween, and mostly because of the work done by Tim Sale in this. Him and Jeph Loeb is an interesting comic creator in the sense of he's written some fantastic books, some of the best books last 20, 30 years, but he's also written some books that I don't like at all and actively dislike a great deal. Like his run on Hulk, for example, I felt it really turned me off. The character, a moment of Hulk literally punching a Red Hulk, punching the Watcher in the face, and that being a thing that happened. It still is just one of those moments that just grind my gears a little bit. And then some of the stuff he did for the Ultimate Universe, he reminds me a lot of Zack Snyder in a way, where I think he gets caught up with trying to sell the moment that he forgets about the overall story at times. And while a moment might be great or at least cause a lot of attention, it doesn't necessarily always fit with the flow of the story he was telling. But Batman, the Long Halloween, I think when he partners with Tim Sale, special things occur. Like their Three Colors trilogy, Hulk Gray, Spider-Man Blue, Daredevil Yellow are fantastic books. Captain America White as well, and Long Halloween. It's just the other reason I wanted to bring it up too is that it reminds me a lot of a type of Batman comic we aren't really getting right now, and that's more of the noir take on Batman. And it wasn't until reading this to realizing just how far away we've gone from that. And not necessarily that it has to be noir, but you don't really have that appeal right now, or that version of Batman. Maybe Batman White Knight a little bit, but this is classic. This is mobster type of crime book that you got like with Year One, and it is very. In fact, that there's just I think this takes a lot of kind of the ideas brought up in something like The Godfather. It actually opens up with a wedding like The Godfather, and instead though of it being about how the life of the mafia mentality was adjusting with the new structure of the United States, and how that was, and how the mob members are trying to figure out their place in as the world was changing. This is Gotham evolving, and one thing that's consistent with this, and it's opened up on the very first page, not just because it's a Halloween, but the idea of belief. And you see this mantra a lot. I believe in Gotham City. I think what this looks into is, what does that exactly mean? If you believe in Gotham City, do you believe in the people? If it's the people, what people deserve that belief? What people deserve that trust? And what we see within this story taking place is that mobsters, the mantras they had, the rules that they lived by, the beliefs that they have were being crumbled. There was something about being a main man. There was rules within their society that they built that they didn't break, but now those rules are being broken. And it all centers on this holiday killer. This holiday killer that is killing someone every holiday, and it's usually someone connected to the mob or someone who is not necessarily a great person. And what we see is Batman, Harvey Dent, and Commissioner Gordon kind of form an alliance to try to bring this killer down. And within this desire to bring this killer down, a lot of things are beginning crumbling around them. The idea of who this killer is unknown. The greatest detective in the world just can't figure it out, and he's going in to figure out, like, why can't he do it? A lot of people are pointing at Harvey Dent. Is Harvey Dent really the person? Because the people who are dying are people that tend to be connected to Harvey Dent, or tend to be going after Harvey Dent. And Batman's wondering, the person who is the least trusting person in the world actually does believe in Harvey Dent, But is that belief founded? Is he letting his friendship get in the way? And there is that also the question of, are those actions justified? Are they going through breaking the rules of the normal, the justice system, because the justice system is broken, similar to what Batman does. Batman doesn't necessarily kill, but obviously he doesn't go by the same rules, and so there's a lot going on. Batman not trusting himself because is he letting Harvey go because he's fearful of what that means. And this is Harvey Dent, obviously, before he becomes Two-Face. And what you have is a world where there is no black or white. Similar to the overall atmosphere and coloring of the book, it's a series of grays. And when you tie into a character like Harvey Dent or Two-Face, who has a very binary worldview, really, right? Everything is one choice or the other. There's no in between. There's just a lot in this mix. There's a lot going on. And I just also love Tim Sale's artwork. It's fantastic. It's both. He rides that line of both old school and new school. I absolutely love the way he draws the Joker. This is one of my favorite Batman panels of all time, pages of all time, is this page. And obviously everything, it's not proportional. I don't know if you'd call it cartoony, but certainly it extends the realm of reality. And I just love the dichotomy between what Batman looks like, this stoic figure, hugely muscular, where the Joker is lanky, and he is like, his jaw is just like not chiseled. It's he looks deformed in a way. How they kind of compare to one another. I hate how like Joker often looks like, when we see Joker and Batman going toe to toe fighting. I don't like that, because Batman should be able to basically take out Joker very quickly if they're ever in a fighting toe to toe. You have like the best martial artists in the world and just a crazy person. So I love how it approached it. And this story does like have pretty much every Batman villain you could think of. The entire Rogues Gallery, like we saw Catwoman, the Penguin, and even though this is it's a book, each edition of the story takes place in a different holiday and it's centered on this killer. A bunch of people show up. So if you're a Batman fan, and speaking of just noir feel, right there is just you could replace Batman with a Humphrey Bogart or something like that, just the way it's approached. So if you want a more classic take on that, and I don't think this is a perfect book by any means. I think sometimes Jeph Loeb's worst tendencies do show themselves, especially near the end, as I think his endings, he makes them more convoluted than he needs to. And I won't spoil what happens, but I felt like there was a lot of motivations of certain characters that seemed messy, and it seemed like, I want to shock you, and I want to you think you know where it's going, let me go this way instead, even though it doesn't necessarily make sense with what the story was saying. So it's more, to me, it's more about the journey than the destination with this book, but that journey is fantastic. And the other piece it's a little problematic, but something you kind of have to forgive based upon the concept of the book, is that with each issue taking place on a different holiday, it seems odd that in between those holidays, nothing is really addressed regarding the holiday killer. It seems like they only work on it when it comes up. So it's like, why aren't you addressing this in between these days? It seems like you're just waiting for it to happen. It's kind of like when you're watching a movie and you have two people having a conversation in a diner, and then they leave and it cuts to them being in the car, and that conversation basically picks up right after what they said when they're sitting at the diner, and you're like, wait, did they just go the last 15 minutes not saying anything and just waiting to this exact moment to pick up that last thought? Why aren't they just kind of naturally progressing the story without it being on screen? And that's the one thing that kind of, it's a little bit like, okay, I get it. You're trying to have this idea where each issue is each basically piece of the story is within a certain time frame. So with that concept, you have to kind of bend the aspect of reality a little bit. Of course, you have Christmas, Joker and Christmas always seem to go together really well. But so I would think if you are a Batman fan, if you're a comic book fan, this is one of the first Batman comics I would advise going to. A lot of people go to Dark Knight Returns right away. I don't think that's a good choice, because I think Frank Miller often writes to the comic book fan, and I think you can appreciate his work a lot more when you have more of a background knowledge. I think this is a much more introductory level, especially if you like the Batman animated series cartoon as a kid, or reading Batman Year One would be ideal. And then this picks up a lot of what was kind of established in that too. A lot of the characters. So you don't need to necessarily read it to understand every piece of it, but if you just want a really meaty introduction into the world of Batman, and looking, especially if you enjoy the relationship between Batman and Harvey Dent. And I know Joker is Batman's, arch nemesis, but I always felt that Two-Face or Harvey Dent was by far his most interesting villain. And like I understand much more why he wouldn't go to a certain level with Harvey Dent or Two-Face compared to the Joker, because there's an element of guilt there where like he feels his downfall was partially his doing as well. So I always thought their relationship was really interesting, and often now in books, he's Two-Face, he's not Harvey Dent. So seeing that evolve or devolve is one of the best parts of the book. And similar to Year One, that is as much of a Jim Gordon story as it is a Batman story. This is just as much as a Harvey Dent story as it is a Batman story. So, but yeah, I love, like I said, one of the best to me, up there in my top 5 Batman comic books of all time. Highly recommend reading it. Even if you didn't love Jeph Loeb's other stuff, just stay here for the Tim Sale art, because you will not be disappointed whatsoever. So, but yeah, that's it for me. Let me know if you've read Batman Long Halloween. What are some of your favorite Batman stories, or some of your favorite Batman stories that don't get the attention that they deserve? Let me know in the comment section below. If you know how to use YouTube, if you want to check out more of this stuff, like, subscribe, and all that great stuff. And if you want to share my stuff, I really appreciate people doing that, because we're trying to get out there as much as we can. And so, alrighty, just remember, comics are for everyone. The key is finding the right one. Until next time, thanks for watching.